Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show. Today is Christmas Eve. It is December 24th, and we're doing government and social stories on this odd day.
What makes it odd?
It's odd because it's like the holiday. It's like the middle of the week. And also we're doing social stories on a Monday or Tuesday.
Be perfect for your long drive to the misery that is participating in Christmas.
Maybe they really enjoy their families.
Maybe if they're very young. One thing that you want to be on the lookout for as you make this drive is you want to constantly monitor the skies.
Maybe avoid the whole northeastern quadrant of the United States.
If you're trying to fly there, you might not be able to.
Because we don't know what's there. Someone probably does, right? But we don't.
Yeah.
But we know that things are there, and they're not going away, and they keep coming back, and no one can tell us why.
The New York Times' headline is the F.A.A. has banned drone flights near key sites in New York City. And at the time we're shooting this, they just dropped a bunch of new restrictions.
Who knows how many more there will be by the time you're watching this?
I don't know. Mass hysteria or,
Never let a crisis go to waste?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Or create a crisis?
Yeah, so that way you can get more overreach, yeah.
And here's a perfect example of how you can create a crisis and then come along and be like, listen, people, we're here to take care of you. We're going to tell you exactly what you need to do to stay safe. We're the ones who made you unsafe, true, but let's not focus on that.
The Reuters headline is, the U.S. government tells officials and politicians to ditch regular calls and text messages because those are unsafe and unencrypted and, who knows who could be listening. And once again, Level1 predicts, wasn't this like show 1, episode 1, where it's like, this is not reasonably safe?
Now, keep in mind, if you are not an official or a politician, don't worry. Your communication is not important. No one cares.
But
Just go ahead.
It's still, we've got a lot of stories about this.
I can't have people finding out what Christmas gifts I'm getting my family that I've texted my mom about.
Imagine how embarrassing it would be if Chinese agents contacted your family and ruined Christmas.
Oh.
We covered this last week and the week before and the week before that and months before that, and sort of it's basically old news to us at this point, but even the mainstream press is saying, hey, the system that we use for lawful with warrant surveillance has been compromised by an unknown number of third-party actors, and so basically everybody has access to that system. That system really wasn't built with a lot of security or logging in mind. So who all's in there that is, using the powers of a warrant, not really, to observe your phone and make recordings and capture your text messages? Because these systems were built with those backdoors to begin with. Isn't that an obviously huge problem? And so they're saying, oh, we can't fix this immediately. We don't even know who's in there. You should just use something with end-to-end encryption, which also simultaneously is something that the FBI has said, oh, we can't allow end-to-end encryption. We should outlaw that because if the plebs have that, we can't enforce laws.
What can you do about it? Well, basically nothing. Not use it, as they say. What could they do about it? Well, I don't know about the nuts and bolts of it. I suspect they could probably turn it off.
Yeah.
But they will not do that. Instead, they will offer more things that we can do, which may not even be directly related to it, but it pursues an agenda that they have.
And the Wall Street Journal's headline is, the U.S. prepares new AI chip restrictions to close China's backdoor access. Now, this is a different kind of a backdoor. I'm talking about a software backdoor. The Wall Street Journal here is talking about China's ability to buy hardware that they shouldn't be able to buy through third parties and resellers and shell companies and God knows what. Because it's basically a situation where it's like, hey, NVIDIA, we would like for you not to sell your GPUs to these Chinese companies. And NVIDIA says, okay, can do. And then it's weird, those companies end up having those GPUs anyway.
More importantly, and more infuriatingly for you, if you're not an American, you should be up in arms about this, they're telling everybody else, you also don't get to sell to China. And no one says, who are you to tell us that? Because they understand how the world order works and how corrupt it all is. So, how deep is China? Well, perhaps to the hilt would be the proper phrase for that.
Congress funds removal of Chinese telecom gear as the feds probe home router risks. A TP-Link, So this is nothing new. We covered this with Hikvision and Dahua and a couple other ones.
Literally for as long as the show has been going. I think we've had stories about this in the security section.
And it's like the feds is like, oops, did you install a Hikvision security camera on your brand new courthouse or law enforcement building? That's a big oops. We'll give you money to replace it with something else, which is actually surprisingly hard to get TAA compliant local surveillance gear that's fully manufactured. And, the supply chain is trusted. TP-Link is now on the list. And it's not because TP-Link is inherently evil. It's just that it's dangerously insecure, according to the articles.
But dangerously insecure doesn't mean it's not a big seller. It's actually the most popular. And it's everywhere. And it's going to affect you. You might be thinking all this, again, go back to the first story. It's like, well, nobody cares about my communications. But yeah, they probably do. Because
they're going to ruin your Christmas.
We're in the age of big data. Every data has value. And it's going to be a big thing if this happens.
Your toaster can be denial of servicing an African child. The U.S. weighs ban on Chinese-made router in millions of American homes. This is also really frustrating because nobody here that is passing laws or like trying to understand what the problem is actually has any clue about how anything works. And so that really muddies the waters in terms of how insane this is. But you know what? If you're watching this program, you're probably already aware of our content where we're like, hey, you can build your own router. And now has never been a better time to just build your own router, because if you build it yourself, it is really hard for it to be compromised. Well, it's a lot harder because you could have chosen hardware in strange and interesting ways and random software, and it's just a hodgepodge mess, and that's harder for the spies to deal with in mass.
Now, you might see a headline like this after looking at all the other ones and being like, that's just another story about that. Nope, it's not. This is a different thing that's being spied on, a different problem. But once again, it has all the hallmarks. We've known about it for a long time. Some people have complained about it. The powers that be have ignored it. And worse, they've empowered foreign agents to use it.
The Department of Homeland Security says China, Iran, Russia, and Israel are spying on people in the U.S. with SS-7. What is SS-7? It's a set of technical standards developed by us to make it easy to do warranted and lawful surveillance of people. But guess what? That backdoor, it doesn't know who's using it. It doesn't even log things.
So when you're roaming with a phone or something like this, all the handoffs and everything, people can manage their own. But that gives them the ability to see exactly where all those devices are. So if you're Iranian, for example, and you want to find out where all of your people have moved across the world and track them, or China, they've been known for that, this is your best friend. And it just enables you to do that.
It's a system literally built to do, like, that's what it was made for. And so every time we talk about a story and we complain about, oh my gosh, the federal government wants access to LavaBit emails, or they want an encryption key, or they want whatever, understand that the technology can't tell if the good guys or the bad guys are using it. This is what happens. It also will not get the care and feeding that it needs. It basically becomes a living creature that demands upkeep. No one will pay the upkeep. Do you know how you get dissidents and bad people killed? I mean, good people killed by bad people? It's by having access to this kind of stuff, because nobody is willing to secure it properly.
And for those of you who have championed censorship in the recent times, and for those of you that believe that censorship is preferable to misinformation, well, welcome to this world, because you created it, and it's only going to get worse as we go forward. It's only going to spiral downward.
The Ars Technica headline is that the Trump FCC chair wants to revoke broadcast licenses. First Amendment might stop him.
Might is the key word.
Previous FCC chairs have said, hey, even though there's been a lot of consolidation and there's a lot of like corporate speech coming out of what was previously like for the public good, it's still in the FCC charter that when the FCC grants a license that there has to be a public good component, but that's not actually enforced because that becomes a free speech issue. Like what's speech? And we also have this money as speech equivalency in the U.S., so it's kind of like,
So this spawns primarily from CBS editing the Biden interview, I think, and making it sound like he wasn't as scrambled as he is. But even then, you cannot do this. This is ridiculous, and it's only going to get worse. And then when somebody else takes power, they're going to be like, we got to take it a step forward.
I actually spent the last couple of weeks trying to understand all the various major news sources reporting on everything, and literally, like, it's not that they're incompetent. Like, there is deliberate misrepresentation of reality, on both sides of the, like, it's insane. It's I've never seen anything like this, or maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Well, the FTC is going out their final hit for 2024, and it's a banger.
The Federal Trade Commission announces bipartisan rule banning junk ticket and hotel fees. Now, it wasn't in this article, but I read another article that said that there was something in the omnibus bill for this that it is now not going to take effect because the omnibus bill didn't pass. But I don't know if that's true. But
Why would they need to fund this?
they needed a change in the law to go through, a change in the wording of the law in order to make this have some teeth.
Now, this sounds pretty good. So the idea is if you're going to charge like, a delivery fee or service fee or whatever, it has to be itemized. And the big number, the largest thing on the sheet, has to be the final price with all that included.
Yeah.
Sounds good, right? But why is this only for hotels and venues?
And ticket prices, because Ticketmaster.
But why wouldn't this just be a blanket law
For
for
I would
everyone?
like everything, yeah.
Yeah, why not ISPs, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Because ISPs probably helped write that legislation.
Ticketmaster's got a lot of power. And remember Real Pages, the price-fixing software. That's not what they marketed as, but that's what it turned
That's
out
what
to
it
be.
is, yeah.
Somebody at the White House crunched the numbers.
Pricing software adds billions to rental costs, the White House says, because all the landlords look at the average cost and no one charges less than the average cost. So the average cost goes up. And then no one charges less than the average cost.
And then the average cost goes, this is...
So we know where this is being used and where it isn't being used. And there are probably some other factors there too, but they compared the two. And they figured out that it's about $70 a month on average across the United States that you're paying more in rent if you are in a Real Pages rental market.
Atlanta was the hardest hit at $181.
Whew.
I honestly expected this number to be more, given how much rents have gone up. I mean, I was looking at like 10 years ago. It's like, oh, if you're
Yeah.
a student and you want to get a one-bedroom apartment, it's like, oh, that's a positively affordable number. And then like 10 years later, it's like, oh.
Yeah, my apartment
my.
that I lived in prior to where I live now was fairly cheap compared to like everything now.
Have you
And it
checked to
was a
see what
two-bedroom.
Have you checked to see what it costs now? Because it's probably double.
It's probably more than double now. Because I paid almost nothing for that place.
It's a bad time. And all of the tech bros, it seems, are capitulating one by one. They all made the wrong bet, and they are desperate to try and cover that mistake up.
SoftBank CEO and Trump announced a $100 billion investment in the U.S. by SoftBank. And a big press release, a lot of PR, a lot of feel good things happening here because there's a lot of software developers and others that have been laid off or don't have a job, and some not amazing economic indicators.
To be fair, they did this in his first term too, although it wasn't as much money. But with Zuckerberg and Bezos, that was definitely sorry.
Yeah, we covered last week that Zuckerberg literally just gave the inauguration fund $1 million, which is just...
That seems to be the price. A lot of
Yeah.
them are just giving him $1 million.
Bezos did too. I think there was one more, right? I can't
Wasn't it
remember.
Apple?
Was it?
Yeah, I'm
I've
pretty
never
sure it was
seen
Apple
that.
also. $1 million, exactly.
And here's a rare one. The ISPs have lost for once, although I don't think this is over, just over for now.
I don't approve of Ars Technica's headline. Big loss for ISPs as Supreme Court won't hear challenge to a $15 broadband law. I think this should have been big win for consumers.
Yeah.
This is in places like New York, where carriers like is Spectrum? Spectrum's in New York. New York City said to Spectrum, "Hey, if you bring internet to this area, if you're going to be the incumbent, or you're going to get the city franchise agreement, which means that they've got exclusive rights, you have to give poor people $15 broadband." And they said, we agree with that. We can do that. We'll make this deal work. And then they reneged. They said, hey, we're not going to do the $15 broadband thing. And it took 10 years to make it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's like, you got to provide the $15 broadband. So ISPs probably won't do it, because what are the consequences for them not doing it? Basically nothing.
And that is garbage tier service too.
Yeah.
It was like 100 megabits, maybe 250. It's really is for just the poors, because it's going to be a terrible experience. But they don't want to do that because they know people need internet at this point.
It's basically a utility at this point, and yet we don't treat it like one.
You know what else is weird about that? That something everybody needs, but it's allowed to be controlled through these kind of shenanigans? Healthcare.
It's so weird. I keep seeing stuff in the news, and it doesn't seem to be about that. It seems to be about something else. I don't know.
But this one does have the big name in it, which you can see they went with the thumbnail because that's going to get the clicks.
Yeah. Nebraska sues Change Healthcare over security failings that led to medical data breach of 100 million Americans. So as my brain was processing this headline, it was more and more disappointed because of why Nebraska was suing Change Healthcare. It's definitely not because a lot of their patients are not getting the level of healthcare that they should. It's because they didn't even bother to secure the records.
Really didn't try at all. And so that is, I don't know if we're allowed to say this anymore, but see that on the left there? Yeah. That's who owns Change Healthcare, which is why this is such a hot story.
There's a lot of stories about that particular healthcare organization literally sentencing people to death, but it is not really covered by the mainstream media. It's mostly like person-to-person media where it's like, here's all the letters that I got where they wouldn't give me my cancer medicine. It's weird, though, because it's hard to find those. There's a lot of them.
I love seeing the stories about what's happening with that guy, and it's like they're trying to drum up sympathy. But then all the comments are like, I got denied my cancer treatment. My kid just can't get an inhaler. Like, just thousands of comments like that.
Did you see the extradition photo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he looks like Jesus coming out.
But it's like there's so many guys around, and they're like fully armed. And it's like, I don't think anybody's going to try to kill him.
No.
I mean, maybe a contract killer, possibly. But the populace, I don't think's mad.
Someone else pointed out one of those cops had like $1,500 shoes on.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's real or not, but it was like in like the Rochester High School newspaper that somebody that was selected for the jury was let go because they were like, they're asking questions like, are you sympathetic? And it was like, hell yeah, I'm sympathetic.
Don't say that. What are you doing? Don't say that.
So they apparently, like, most of the jury was dismissed because they were all like, yeah.
You gotta lie about that stuff and then nullify. That's the game. And while our government is literally just failing to protect us from the skies, from the telecom lines, from the healthcare monopoly, they are going to protect us from one thing, even though they fail at all those other things.
Seatbelt reminders will be chiming more for passengers' own good. So this also now applies to people in the rear of the vehicle, which is amazing.
Oh, that's going to be annoying, though, when I have something heavy in the back seat, and it's like...
Yeah.
Or my dog.
I'll give you a pro tip from old Eastern Kentucky men. When they put in those seatbelt beeps, you go to a junkyard, you cut a seatbelt out of one of those, and pop that in there.
I mean, it's not... I mean, I wear my seatbelt. I think you should wear your seatbelt. But the chime is very annoying when it's like you've got something in the other seat, and it's still chiming at you.
So my old... The previous vehicle... Whenever I put a computer or just like even just a toolbox in the seat, it would beep like no one had buckled up. But the new one does not beep. It says I've disabled the airbags, but it doesn't beep. So it knows something's in the seat, but it knows that it's not a person. And it's like, that's interesting that they had to add even more complicated sensors to be like, is there something in the seat that's not a person? In that case, I won't beep.
Now, they show some stats here about people dying from seatbelts. Oh, that's a personal choice. Now, there is that whole thing where you could fly out of the car.
Yeah.
And then you could become a missile. That's public safety, I guess. It's not a big thing to ask for. But why are we wasting our time with this kind of stuff? Come on.
Why are we wasting our time with this kind of stuff when it's plain? Like, just as a person with a brain, you look at a situation and it's like, this company is stealing from people. Or this company is not providing the service for which they are paid. And yet it turns into some sort of big complicated thing with a lot of words to make it something that it's not.
Well, this is going to be something that it's not, because right now, SpaceX has their facility just out in the middle of nowhere. There's a little, it's like in a county or something, but it doesn't really have a town around it. I guess technically it does, but they're saying that's not good enough. They need to create their own.
SpaceX wants Starbase to become an official city in Texas, and they already started the paperwork to do this.
Company town.
Yeah. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
But if he's launching these things like every day, every other day, that's going to require thousands of people to support it.
And then if the person loses their job or doesn't respond to his insane Twitter rants, they then lose their housing.
That's how the coal mines did it.
They already maintain the roads. He probably got private security, right? It's just going to galvanize all of that.
Will it galvanize all that, or will it be like the old stories of Atlantis, where it's just like suddenly we have one city that is 100 years ahead of all the other cities?
Well, we have one courtroom that is 100 years ahead of all the other courtrooms.
Broward judge dons a virtual reality headset in what's thought to be a courtroom first. This is actually pretty interesting. The defense convinced the judge to wear a VR headset so that they were brandishing a weapon. They own a bar, and they rent a bar out, and there was a wedding party, and there was a bunch of drunk rowdiness. And so he brandished a weapon to get everybody out of there because he thought they were fighting or brawling or whatever. And they maybe were a little bit, but...
Yeah, they threw a chair.
And so he's
They're just
like,
having a good time.
you need to get out. And they brought him up on charges.
It's weird, though, that like whoever built that VR room has a lot of influence on the judge here, right?
Yeah.
Although I guess you got pictures and stuff, too. It doesn't seem
Surveillance
necessary.
footage. Well, I was thinking about, too, is like, what if... Meta has their new glasses that you can wake up and do things. In probably another 5 or 10 years, your phone can record all this in VR. You could be able to play back something like this in 3D and have this kind of an experience. I mean, AI could fill in the gaps.
That's worse. Letting AI fill in courtroom details?
It hallucinated there was a second gun.
And over in Europe, they are, as usual, unhappy with Apple.
Apple is pushed hard by the EU to make iOS and iPadOS more interoperable and to make them more like computers. Really, what they're talking about is being able to just, you own an iPad, can you load your own software on the iPad? How does that work? And Apple is really, really stretching to say that this is going to unleash, there won't be any demons in hell. They'll all be living on your iPad.
Oh, no.
But it goes back to more basic stuff, like the whole messaging thing. Remember the messaging thing? It's like the different colored bubbles. It doesn't work correctly. I can confirm it definitely doesn't work correctly, or at least it hasn't in the recent past. I don't text that many Apple users. But the DMA demands this kind of thing. And also Meta has weighed in, and Apple is saying, oh, no, Meta, we can't do business with them because they don't have security. If you go with what they say, it's just going to be bedlam. Which probably not true. And here's one that seems like an American headline, but no, it turns out now they want everybody's elections.
EU opens investigation into TikTok over election interference. This is from Reuters. Reuters, I don't know. I don't know what to think.
Well, if you think censorship is better than misinformation, you should rethink it. Because guess what? Bad things are about to happen from that. Well, they're already happening.
Well, but even so, yes, but also I think there's misinformation about the misinformation. I think the misinformation is misrepresented in terms of like...
Oh, you mean the people who are supposed to protect you from it are the major players in it?
Yeah. Yes, because it's like, this is not technically accurate what you're saying. I mean, what they did was wrong, yes, but your argument is undermined by the fact that you're not being perfectly transparent here. I don't understand.
And if you want to know what the end game of the whole TikTok saga is, here you go.
Hundreds of websites to shut down under the UK's chilling internet laws. Community pages face closure as lengthy new rules create disproportionate liability. This is kind of a problem for us, too.
So this is the 230 argument.
Yeah.
If you operate a certain size forum or website or whatever where users can post, you got to be responsible for it. And a lot of these websites are like, there's no way we can do that. We barely are able to keep the lights on. We can't pay people to do this. We're just going to shut down. The one they pointed out here was a bicycling forum. It's got a lot of users. People love it. But if somebody gets on there and says some crazy stuff, that's it for it. They're going to get sued into oblivion.
Forum.level1text.com.
I think that, this sounds like I'm paranoid, but for the dollar amounts involved, it's really not, because there are popular like consumer reports and other type forums where money has changed hands for bad actors to go on and create a stink and post things and do things, whether for the lulls or trolling or for money, for anti-competitive reasons. Like Johnson & Johnson would be like, hey, let's shut down this forum that's talking about, mold in our makeup because
we don't want people to find that in the search results.
Yeah, and so this kind of tactic is how they do that. And so it's problematic.
It's easy to poison that punch bowl.
Yeah.
Really easy. And some people just like to do it.
But look at Reddit. Like Reddit in the beginning when it was Aaron Schwartz. Was it Aaron Schwartz? Is that right?
I don't remember.
And the original founders is like randos. It's like, okay, Reddit.com run by randos like us maybe should get more leeway than Reddit run by whoever currently runs Reddit, who is maximizing the amount of evil on Reddit.
Well, I don't know. It's publicly traded.
Revenue instead of user count, that would be a basic fix. I mean, I don't support it in any format, but that'd be a quick fix. And Mr. Elon Musk, when he's not busy building cities and taking over control of the country, he is also launching more and more Starlink satellites. It's just insane at this point. They're like tadpoles. And the EU is looking at that, and they're a little jelly.
EU signs an $11 billion deal for sovereign satellite constellation to rival Musk's Starlink.
So they're going to partner up with a local company. Can't remember what the name of it is. SpaceX. And I think the government's going to put up 60% and SpaceX is going to put up the rest. They're going to do their own Starlink with blackjack and hookers.
Did you notice TechCrunch changed their navbar? Probably not. Now it's like boring, but it was like they had like a cool blur effect on it, and it was like rounded on the edges, and now it's totally different.
I don't think they did, because remember, this is the special. This is like in brief.
A mini story. Oh no, look on the homepage it is too.
Oh no, yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, they changed it.
All right.
Interesting.
They must have had some user testing, bad user feedback. I thought it was cool.
Probably didn't work on phones or something.
Yeah.
And Spain is kind of doing the same thing as everybody else.
Spain introduces a bill to combat online fake news.
That creates an arbiter of truth in the government. They get to decide what's real and what isn't, and if it's not real, they can take it down.
But what about people with a brain?
Those don't exist in our society.
More and more, they certainly are discouraged.
And this sounds outrageous, and I feel like the Register went a little light on the core details here, but let's remember, was it Charter that did this? Comcast? Putting microphones in the remotes?
Yeah.
That was like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now that China's doing it, we can't do that.
China's homebrew Bluetooth alternative is on the march as Beijing pushes universal remotes. Starflash is said to include 5G tech, which would leave rival wireless protocols struggling in the crack of a sofa. As I was thinking about their approach here, I was also thinking about the FCC just opened up 6 gigahertz for really low power, non-fixed outdoor or indoor devices to be able to do low power communication. Basically, Bluetooth is too complicated for device-to-device communication. We need something that's simpler but also could communicate over a long range and has all these other features. And so this is an attempt at making a bunch of different electronic devices communicate together. But there is a really severe dystopian aspect about it as well.
So the Chinese government decided that with if you got like a Roku box and a TV, maybe got an amplifier, you're getting a lot of remotes. And they're saying, you know what, we're going to make them all universal. Don't worry, we're going to take care of you. This is a big problem that we need to solve. There's going to be a microphone in it. Don't worry about that. It's going to make it easier to interface with. We would never spy. This
universal protocol means that somebody could just park outside your home and point a little parabolic dish at your house, and that microphone would just, they talk to the device, and it's like,
Don't worry about that, though. That's not going to happen to you. You don't matter. Your data doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way for them to just collect it all and have a machine go through it.
It's like a 4chan post or something. It's like it's like, there's nothing technical in my bedroom. There's an alarm clock, and then I also keep a loaded Beretta next to the alarm clock in case the alarm clock makes a noise I don't recognize. So it's
there's a meme like that. It's like there's 2 types of tech enthusiasts, and it's like one who has everything hooked up, and then the other person like that.
And we end our year with the Spider-Man meme, which defines so many of the stories.
Chinese cybersecurity center accused the U.S. of hacking and stealing tech secrets. This came after we were complaining about TP-Link. And it's like, no, wait a minute. You've been hacking the TP-Link? Yeah.
Probably true.
Yeah. So far there hasn't been, there's some really incredible evidence of something deliberately nefarious in at least some old Hikvision gear. Maybe not everything, but I haven't seen anything like that yet for TP-Link. A TP-Link, sure, bad security practices and bad defaults and poor best practice implementation, but not anything that is, they definitely did this deliberately. Nobody would make this kind of a mistake. Not saying it's not there. I will definitely change my tune as soon as I see that. I have reason to look for that. But it's just badly manufactured, not deliberately evil. But maybe I'm wrong.
Last week we learned that Google had conquered quantum computing by solving their own benchmark. Maybe that was overblown, but we probably will get some quantum computing in the coming years. And what does that mean for our old encryption? Australia is concerned.
Australia moves to some cryptography by 2030 before quantum carves it up. Now, one of the things I didn't understand about this article is that they want to move away from SHA 256, which is not actually one of the recommendations yet. And so, okay, there's some types of encryption don't stand up to quantum algorithms, but we do have some kinds of encryption that do stand up to quantum computers. And so basically we just need to make sure that we start moving to the other kinds of encryption. And Australia seems to kind of understand that. Maybe.
Well, Krista, we know that you are a big fan of the Facebook Marketplace.
I am. I haven't seen these kind of postings, but I have made deals for things like furniture, and when I go to pick it up at a gas station at 9 p.m., I do kind of feel like I'm doing a drug deal.
Probably a bad move.
Yeah.
Now, now that you know the secrets here to the emojis, did you see? Snowflakes means cocaine.
That makes sense.
I probably shouldn't say the drug names, right? Lightning bolts mean.
I haven't seen any of these myself, but most of my postings on Marketplace, it's what the algorithm shows me is furniture, artwork, plants. I'm not looking for.
My favorite
this
is
kind of thing.
Grapes and baby bottles for lean, for codeine.
Oh, that makes sense.
And
you're sipping on it, right?
The Canadian maple leaf is just a catch-all. That just means drugs.
Huh. Now I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, everybody else is too.
Who needs the dark web? Drug sales flourish on social media. See, I thought this was a propaganda piece against end-to-end encryption. So
but those aren't end-to-end encrypted, are they?
No.
No, it's not not Facebook. I mean, I don't know about every other one, but.
But also, the internet is evil and blah, blah, blah. It's no, it's just, this was always there.
Where am I going to get my secondhand junk if not through the internet?
This has been there since Tumblr. You could do drug deals on Tumblr.
Junk.
So I don't understand the point of this article. Why are they trying to fearmonger this? I don't.
Keep in mind, once the DEA figures out that they can just let AI go through all the historical data, they'll come and get you. Don't do that. That's a terrible idea.
It doesn't even have to be that sophisticated. It's this person has sold the same chest of drawers with snowflake icons after it 53 times.
Support your local drug dealer. Do it in person.
Mom and pop.
Mom and pop.
At Bluesky, they still continue to gain popularity. And it turns out that when you get a ton of users, you start to have the same problems that all the other social media networks have, and they don't have a good solution.
This website wins the award for most accurate headline ever, stupidest drama ever. An apparent extortion scheme involving famous writers and entrepreneurs lit up Bluesky the other night, and it raises some important questions about whether Bluesky is up to the task of moderation. Basically, scammers were registering domain names and handles on Bluesky of famous people, and then when the famous people show up, the scammers were trying to sell it to them. But the scammers also had lots of sock puppet accounts to add to the chaos. And this is just trolling and chaos at scale.
But it shows that's a terrible system.
Yeah.
I know Twitter, with just anybody can buy it, but at least we know it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it makes you think that like,
If anything, the blue check makes me think I should think less of this person.
And before that, we knew that they were just like, the selected few.
Yeah.
The people that, and you shouldn't listen to those people either, because they're probably idiots. And here's a blast from the past. Meta, this is how slow the wheels of justice turn.
Meta fined $263 million over 2018 security breach that affected 3 million EU Facebook users. So the EU's fined them $87 a user. That's pretty good.
263 million ain't nothing to Meta.
Also, 28. I watched your friend Claire. I somehow this got boosted back up into my algorithm. The old videos from like 2019 when she was with Bon Appetit. I watched a bunch of those videos the other night.
Those are so good, right?
They are, yeah.
The new stuff doesn't appeal to me.
I watched her episode where she made Butterfinger.
She's doing that again.
Yeah.
But the magic isn't quite there.
Some of the fun of it is that she's in like a chaotic environment with a bunch of other chefs, and you can hear them all talking and like brainstorming together.
And they're good at like cutting the content down.
Yeah.
And like, her rambling and madness is tempered by all the other fun stuff.
That's going on.
Yeah, I'll never forgive that girl for doing that. She destroyed something beautiful.
I don't think it was her, right? It was them not wanting to pay. Bon Appetit didn't want to pay them.
I don't know, but you should handle that internally. And finally, TikTok. They are desperate. They're running out of time. It will be January 19th, which means that's going to be a big news week, isn't it? And if they do not get something done by then, it's over.
The Reuters headline is TikTok turns to the U.S. Supreme Court in a last-ditch bid to avert a ban. The clucking noises coming from the Supreme Court seem to be in favor of TikTok so far, but time will tell. The talk is ticking.
Who will pay the most first?
They got a soundbite from Trump on this, which is interesting because he started the whole thing.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh, there's a soft place in my heart for TikTok.
Because of the voting age. Yeah, he's like, oh, there was a lot of people who used TikTok that voted for me, so I don't know. And it's just like, what? Okay. I mean,
it does have a lot of influence, terrifyingly.
We do have another story that suggests that young people are actually able to use their brain more than in previous generations, which is encouraging.
I'm not seeing any evidence of that on the street, though. Are you?
No, if anything.
I don't interact with a ton of young people, so perhaps I'm just biased by the weird clips I see online.
Yeah, but the weird clips show you.
Yeah.
They're maybe not the brightest. I don't know. We also have the story that they don't read much.
That's alarming.
I don't read much either anymore.
I like to listen and read at the same time.
I can't do
That's
that.
insane.
I'm not an auditory. I can't process things that way.
It works better when I'm exercising than just sitting there, though.
Does your mind wander? Have you ever been listening to something and then like you're trying to type something at the same time and then you type what you're listening to? I do that a lot. That's why I can't listen to like podcasts or anything.
I don't listen to anything when I'm working.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I have to focus on something, I don't want a voice in my head.
Yeah. Anyway, tell us your experiences with that below.
Tell us what the voices in your head are telling you.
Maybe it's our voices.
We're trying to be the voice of reasonableness. That's all.
Bye. Merry Christmas. Bye.